really happy with the music, you know, the musical thing. That's it. So where can we start off? Like you were here yesterday. No, like you weren't here yesterday. I thought you were here yesterday. Oh no, at the club I saw you. At the club I saw you. Yeah, you were here. Are there any people that were here that were here before? Like, were you here at the Saturday one? No, right? I think so like everybody's new, right? So I don't have to worry about, like, you know, like having to repeat something, right? I can do all new stuff. But like it'll basically be the same, but, you know, I might throw in a little extra, you know. So where do you think we should start? I can play a couple tunes and you know, use different techniques and stuff. You know, like use a lot of techniques that I have been using. And then you can, you know, like ask me about them. Say, well, how about that technique there? Now, what is that all about? And blah 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 blah. Like, you know, what kind of voicings are you using, or like, how do you approach this tune, or that? You know, like whatever question you want to ask. But I'll play a couple tunes first. But I wish I had a chord. It's hard to play this guitar when it's down that low. It looks like it. I go over the back from your place. Another one. Because I like the guitar to be up high. Good. I like the guitar to be as high as I can. I mean, like, you know, like as high as the guitar will go. You know, because when I'm playing it and the neck's down there, I can't play it good. So I like to have the neck here when I'm playing. It's got to be way up high so that I don't have to reach down for it, you know. And then I can stand up and play it, and if I'm sitting down, the neck is still high. Like, I like the feeling of a sitar. You know, when you sit down, you hold the sitar, and the neck is like this. It's right there. You can go like that, it's right there, but it's not like you got to hold the neck up. You know, like it looks like you shouldn't have to hold the neck up. Like the neck should already be there, right? You know, like suspended, and then you can play it, and you don't have to hold the neck up. When you have to hold the neck up, it's going to hurt you playing because you get a lot of, you know, because you're spending a lot of energy like holding the guitar up. So then when you go to play, the neck wants to fall down. So you got to make sure your neck is there. You know, it's in the right place. Unless you're doing like a Bo Diddley thing, and you want, you know, like if you want the neck to be down by your knees, that's different. Or roll over Beethoven or something like that, you know, where you can just reach the bass string and play the bass line. That's cool too, you know. But that's a whole different world. By the way, I saw Chuck Berry on TV the other night. And like he hasn't changed at all, and he looks about the same way. Like old Chuck Berry, he must be like 60 years old. But he's just, but he's out there doing his thing, and it's great, man. He's still doing it. Like he influenced Carl Perkins and Elvis and all that kind of, you know. Bo Diddley. This is going to be a little, like, is there a way to make this smaller? Just pull up on it, make it small if you can. Yeah. Paul Grozny. All right. And we got. Did you get it down?
Oh, I did, yeah.
Oh, you did it? Okay. Can you get the music out, please, and we'll all read it together? Okay. I'm just kidding. This is my humor coming out. I'm just waking up. You know, I went to bed at 7 this morning. You know, I was playing guitar all night and like working on my 7 string, and so I'm a little bit fuzzy. So you'll have to bear with me.
When's the next day, Lenny?
Huh?
When's the next day?
What next day?
Well,
oh, this day here? Like the contract I just signed is for like June the 11th or June the 22nd here at Bourbon. Paul? Did Paul split? Okay, all right. But that's when it is, man. It's in June. and it's for 2 weeks.
Is it here or at Bourbon Street?
It'll be a Bourbon Street,
Yeah, like it'll be
22nd.
at Bourbon Street. And he's also trying to tie in some gigs and everything with me and Don, like doing the jazz festival thing. So it's gonna be all right, you know. Like I'll be coming back here and working 2 days. I'm gonna be working Edmonton,
Yeah, for 2 weeks.
like probably Montreal. And Don's setting up a tour, right? You know, like a Canadian tour that we'll be doing together. So when I come back, like I'll be doing this, and this. Now, I can't tell you exactly what time of the day.
No, I said it's a boat time.
Yeah. I mean, that's harder to do than the actual comping. See, because with the 4/4, you got to keep it going all the time. You know, it's like you got to keep it going, and it's got to swing, right? But this is a good place to start. You know, like 4/4. 4/4 the bottom all the time. Melody and John. It's easy to do a ballad. Not really easy, but it's a lot better than trying to play fast.
Yeah.
So at least you get the 4 going on the bottom and letting it ring, then you put your melody on top. So it's a question of gaining like enough independence to do it, and working on exercises, things like play this, for instance, and let it ring. Let it ring. No, just all look like all together. Okay? Now on top we're going to try and do something completely different. Play like a D note on top, but really short like this. Real short, real short. Staccato on top and legato on the bottom. So it's the same as classical guitar.
Yeah.
You know, you read a classical piece, it'll say play these pizzicato, but the bottom's got to be legato. So you got to play real smooth on the bottom, but on top they want. So you're going. On top you'll have. Short, long. So it's the same as classical guitar, like only as jazz. But like you got to develop the independence and the patience to sit there and do it. But after about 6 months of doing stuff like that, you'll be able to separate your ideas, and by being able to separate them, then it really sounds like there's 2 things going on. But if you play look like 2 things at once, and they're both long, you know, like. I mean, it's got to be. Short. Right? So you want to get used to playing loud, soft, in both places. That's what takes long to do on guitar. You know, I mean, it takes long to develop like the independence where you can play something long on top, something short on the bottom. Then it gives you the illusion there's really 2 things going on here.
Lenny?
Yeah.
Do you play bebop?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I started out playing bebop. Bebop was my first kind of jazz I ever played. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to light a cigarette, then I'll play you one.
Oh, right. Should we take a little break?
Sure, a little break would be wonderful. That's hard to explain. It's a different kind of music. As you know, it's based on on like Indian music and Japanese music. Like he uses a lot of Japanese scales and Chinese scales. He uses a lot of pentatonic scales, like 5-note scales instead of 7. Because like the 5-note scale has a psychological effect on you. You know, like rather than 7, like the 5 notes have a special kind of a psychological effect. And then there's 4-note scales, 5-note scales, and 6-note scales. Now the 6-note scales really have a psychological effect on you. And the 7's cool and everything. But usually what's happening is 5-note scales, like against the pedal tone with little 3-note chords, like voicings. You know, and you move the voicings around and you play the scale on top of that. So what's happening is this, I'll explain it to you. Like it looked like to get into the John Coltrane thing, you have to learn the C scale all over again. But you play the C scale like not like this, and you don't play it in thirds. Right? And you don't play it in these kind of thirds. Right? You don't do that. What you do is that you learn to play the C scale voiced in fourths. So like you voice it like this, C, G, D. And that's your first note of the C scale. Right there. So like it gives you an oriental sound right away. So this is C scale like Chinese style. Okay, so we got, that's your C chord. I mean, that's your first note of the C scale. D, D, G, C, in other words. Right? Then you take it up a tone and do the same thing. E, A, D. So you're going do, re, mi is going to be, it's going to be F, B, and E. So far you got like 2 positions to remember. You got this, right? And now we're going to be at the F note. Then we go back to straight fourths. F, C, G. Or starting from the bottom, G, C, F. Right? So you got, right? So memorize those positions. Now you're going to go to your next note of the C scale, which is G. So you play A, D, G. Right? Now you're going to go up a tone. B, B, E, and then A. And they're like, look like 3-note chords. Right? Okay, now you're going to go to your new position. You're going to go. You got C, F, and B. And then your C is where you started. Right? So that takes care of all your modes. Okay, so if there's 7. Right, okay, so you got 7 modes that are based on the C scale. Like 7 different modes, right? You know, like you got your, what is it, like the Aeolian? Look like, what's the name of the major scale?
Ionian.
Okay, so you got your Ionian scale, which is this. Right? Okay, now you take your C note, and then you put your D note on the bottom. You put the 2. So use D as a root now. So tune this down to D. And you play exactly the same scale, but now you've got a D minor Dorian. You got. Then it starts sounding hip, because you're using D on the bottom, so you got a Dorian played in fourths. So if I could use that in a tune like taste honey, kisses much sweeter than wine. So actually you're doing is playing the C scale with a D root, where the D and A root 5th. Okay? So once you got that down, you keep playing the C scale, but your third note of the C scale is E, right? So then you bring it up to E, and you play the C scale again, and it comes out like Phrygian, like this. So it's like Pachyducia type trip, you know, like you're going like that. So you got like 3 different modes already, and all you played is the C scale and fourths. Now this is the trick to the John Coltrane bag. Okay, so after E, you've got F, right? I mean, like you got C, D, E, F. So you tune your guitar to F. Okay? Now you play the C scale again with the F on the bottom, and it gives you an F Lydian. It's kind of magical. So like if you want a magic sound, you play F on the bottom and you get so there's a scale. So there's your magic scale. It's called the what? By Lydian. Okay. So then your next scale you want, and it's the same fingering all the time. So the next scale you want is your A note. I mean, no, look like G note. You want your G. So you go. Then you get a Mixolydian. See how easy it is? And that's when you get into tunes like So What, or like All Blues. But you've only learnt one scale, the C scale. It's the root that makes it sound good. So you put so like you put that on the bottom. So then your next note higher is A, right? So you play A. So here's A. So you play the C scale using an A root, and it gives you an Aeolian mode. So you got this now. Your next note after A is going to be B, right? And then you got your Locrian scale, which is really far out because you got this. Here's the B. Here's the B, right? Now when you play the C scale in fourths, like I showed you, now you get this sound. Through all your 7 modes. After B, you're back in C. So then you're playing like plain old C again. And here's your plain old C. D on the bottom. Then you blow. But the one I like is the Phrygian E. I mean, it's almost like flamenco. Right? So like all you got to do is learn that. So like you learn the C scale and put the different roots of the C scale in it. Then the next step is to transpose. Like you know them in C because it's C scale. Now what if you go to the D scale and you want to play, say you want to play a Phrygian in D. So like the third note of the C scale is E, that's Phrygian. So the third note of the D scale is going to be F sharp. So you turn this to F sharp and then you play a D scale now. Right? Look. If you transpose everything you learn in C, if you want to play a Phrygian scale, but not in the key of C, like look like based on the C scale, you play it. Say you play the Phrygian scale in the key of D. Like the Phrygian scale, say in the key of A minor. Sorry. Okay, so what's your third note of the A scale? C. So you got to have a C bass string and play a D scale. You know, like a D scale. So look if you have like a what note? Like what's the?
What do you want? An A minor Phrygian? C bass. You want it?
I want a like an A minor Phrygian.
Right. C bass.
So look like 3 is the third of what scale? I mean, like A is the 3 of what scale?
F.
F. Okay, so you go. Okay, 3. Okay, so we're talking about Phrygian scale in F. So what you do is you play the F scale with an A root. But anyway, you have to transpose. You know, it looks like it's easy to think in C because if you say, okay, I'm going to use an E root and play a C scale, and that's going to give me Phrygian. But if you want to transpose, if you're playing an E and you want like a Mixolydian sound, okay, you're in the key of E. So what's the Mixolydian note in E? Like it's the 5th, right? It's the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the 5th note. So like from 5 to 5 in the E scale, that's the Mixolydian. So what you do is that you play a low B root in the key of E. So you go. So you play your E scale starting on the 5th. Dorian right there. What I'm trying to get is a Phrygian in the key of B. Okay, if I'm playing in B and I want a Phrygian, the third note of the B scale is D, right? Of B. C.
D sharp.
D sharp is it? Okay, here's B. And here's the third. So I have to use that as a root and play a B major scale. Okay, now I'm going to play in B, but I'm going to start on the third. Okay, just a minute. Okay, the three. That would be. Here we go. Well, anyway, you have to sit down and transpose this. So once you learn it, like in C, then you go to the key of D and do all your thing there, and then go to each key. So then you can play in any mode you want, like no matter what key you're in. Because if I'm in C and they want a mixolydian, you know, like a mixolydian is like F to F, like in the C scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. So from 4 to 4 in the C scale gives me a Lydian. So I use an F root. Right, and that's the McCoy Tyner thing. So what he does is that he picks his mode he's going to play on, gets the right root, so that if he's going to play in like Phrygian, he'll like play an E sometimes. And he knows by playing a C scale, voiced in fourths, like with an E root, it's going to give him a look like a Phrygian. Like C. But if there's an E root, C scale. If I go to G, that's a mixolydian, C scale. Yeah, Lydian, E, Phrygian. If I'm going to go to Aeolian, play an A, and play C scale. You know what I'm saying? And that gives you your like background, and then the guy that's playing the solo just plays the scale, and it gives you your far out feeling. But it all has rules. You know, it all has rules. It's not a mystery. So I hope I can hope you can understand that.
That was really nice.
Okay, well, that opens up a whole new trip for
So you
you.
learn the modes in C first of all, and then go from there.
You learn the modes in C, and then you transpose. Because otherwise, if somebody says, hey, let's do Phrygian and F sharp, well, you're going to be lost at first because you're not used to F sharp. But learn them in C. So like say me and you are going to jam, and it's going to be like based on the C scale. Okay, let's play something. Let's play like a C scale, like voice like this. But let's make it a mixolydian. So put G on the bottom.
Bass?
Yeah, on the bottom. G. Well, you got to bring it up to G, right? Okay, now play your C scale voiced in fourths. Nope, just a minute. Right. And then. See, look like you gotta remember this much. C is like this, straight, and And then the same thing at home. Then you gotta play a G13. And then straight again. And then straight again. Again. And then it changes to this. No. Right, and then. No, straight. Okay, now that's your C scale played with a G root. So you're playing in a Mixolydian mode. Right? So in other words, if you're jamming on G7, and it's like a Mixolydian, and you got another guy going. Things and it sounds right. Big, because it's musically correct. So all you gotta know is that, and then you can't play wrong note. Because you know your moves. See what I mean? And that's the John Coltrane bag. So it's not that hard, actually. It's not that hard. I mean, like, I don't think it's as complicated as like bebop. Because it's like simpler because you got a pedal note in the back, and then you just learn this stuff.
You do the Phrygian.
Yeah.
The whole sort of flamenco Phrygian, it uses both a G natural and a G sharp, right?
Well, look, like the real Phrygian doesn't have a G sharp.
No, I know, but like
but I use it.
Yeah, and in flamenco, you use both those notes in the scale.
I use them both. Like sometimes I'll go up. Sometimes I'll go. Like look, man, like I'll play Phrygian go. With an E and B root, right? An E and B root, E and B, E and then B, right? You play your C sharp against that, and then your G. So that's what McCoy Tyner is doing on the piano while Train is playing. Like he's doing that, and Train is playing against it. That's what makes it sound so far out. But there are rules, because the bass player is always going. Phrygian. And then McCoy will go. Right? So it's not as complicated as it sounds. I mean, it sounds far out and outside, but there are little rules we can use to get there. Let's put it that way. And some of these little rules, look like they're not teaching them to you in school. But I went to Berkeley, and the cats are going, well, man, you just go and you just grab they'll go anywhere. But that leaves you in the dark. But what I try and do is explain the real thing. And then if you want to depart from there, then you can depart. Look, like this is like, say, like Dorian. I mean, look like Mixolydian. Now, if I want to take it outside, I'll put a note that don't belong. And then I'll bring it back. Now, I'm actually supposed to go to I'll go to C sharp. So I'll throw in the notes that don't belong, just to create the tension. And once the tension is so heavy, then you bring it back home. You know, so like you may be on F, and it wants to go back to here. But I'll go. That doesn't have anything to do with the C scale. It's just I'm taking a chance and trying stuff. So I take it outside, then there's no more rules. I look like you're breaking the rules, but you're having fun while you're doing it. But always take it back. Oh, look like always take it back. You know, it's like you can hold this down, dig. Look like say you're playing an E. Right, you're playing an E. You're going. Now this is going to be like E frigid. You know. So what I'll do is I'll go. Right? But it doesn't make any sense. I mean, look like you can't explain that. I mean, like you may want to go. Right? But you can't explain that. All you did was try it, try it and see if it would work. And even if it don't work, it creates tension, and then you can always come back home. You can always go. Now I'm back home. Or else I might have something going up and one coming down. I might go. Oh no, I'm sorry. Just a minute. Okay, here we go. Okay. As far as explaining it, like all you're doing is taking one note up and one note down. So like you may play a 2-note chord here, and like a 2-note chord there, and then you reverse them. You know, like this, for instance. Dissonance, but it creates tension, and once you created that tension, then take it back home, to the plain C scale and all that. And that's what that music's all about. It's trying to go to places that it's never been before, so you can explain it to it in that way. But academically speaking, it's hard to go, this is exactly what that means, that's exactly what that means. It's kind of like chance music, and whatever sounds good to you, you do it, and don't try to explain it, because it's you can explain a certain amount of it, but when it starts getting out there to the point where you don't even know what key it is anymore, sometimes those guys play with no keys, like there won't be a root like this. There won't be a root, it'll just be like stuff like. while you're breaking the rules. Like you're not using no rules, and there's nothing to hang on to. There's no reference point or nothing. But then that way you're taking the chance of not reaching anybody. You know, there'd be people out there saying, what the hell are they playing anyway? Like, meanwhile, those guys are playing for themselves because it's fun. But like, try and sell a record, you know, and say, oh yeah, this tune is like, Out. It's called Out. You know, the guy says, this is a nice tune, honey, this tune is called Out. You know. So I always try and have something to hang on to. So if I play a McCoy Tyner tune, at least I like to try and say, well, this is a tune about visions, and it's visions, and it goes in and out like that, you know. But if I was to play a thing that was completely out to lunch, people would look like they probably wouldn't care for it, because they're so used to hearing me play pretty stuff that if I started playing weird shit, like if I started playing stuff like this. I have a hard time to play weird. I do, and I have a hard time to play weird because my fingers always want to go on those nice spots that sound good. If I can only get in a spot that sounds bad, So what I'd have to do is take my guitar and untune it, make it real bad, and then play it, and it would sound real bad. And they say, hey, he is far out. But I'd have to use a real, like a real weird tuning, because I'm so used to playing like inside. That is hard for me to get out in the O-zones. Unless I'm playing with guys that are playing that way. And then I'll just take a chance and jump out there. It's like jumping out into the deep water and swimming. 5 o'clock bells, the song 5 o'clock bells. Yeah. Is that also based on a kind of mode? Yeah, that's based on a very logical, the chords follow each other. The chords really follow each other. It makes sense. In other words, one chord leads to another chord. It all makes sense. It's a structure that's a real structure that fits. Yeah. It's not a far out thing or nothing, It's sort of like, let me give you an idea of what it's like. Hey, what time is it anyway?
8:49.
Okay. Quarter to 9?
Yeah.
You're kidding, I gotta catch a plane at 10 to 9. I'll never make it. So in other words, like I'm doing things like that's A minor. Then I go to an F7. 2, 5, 1 of A. And then up a fourth of B flat. And then up another fourth to E flat. And then up another fourth to A flat. And then to an A minor. So it all fits. I mean, it makes sense. E flat, A flat, A minor 7 flat 5 D, D minor 7 G7 C, F, B flat. So it makes sense. See, it all follows. Because it's going up in fourths. A minor, D, D into C minor, C. It always goes up in fourths. So that's a structure. But if it was moving around a lot, it wouldn't, it probably wouldn't hang it, it's like playing, it's like going, that chord jumps around a lot, because it's like, it jumps around a lot. Sorry. Now that one jumps around a bit, but it still makes sense. And then there's that kind of music that just doesn't follow structure, it just moves all over the place. Where you might go, like you might go. Like going. Like in flat tops instead of fourths, instead of going fourths. Well, it look like you can go flat fives, G, and then instead of going to C, well, go a flat five, go. And then have a fourth, and then another flat five, and then another flat five, fourth, and then up a minor third. A minor third. Like you have to analyze chord structures. I mean, like you got to take a good tune and then you got to analyze the structure to see what the guy's thinking of, like where the numbers are going, and then you analyze this shit, and that's how you get to know form. Well, look like you memorize a good tune and like you memorize the chord structure, and if it's a good chord structure, then you memorize it, like it becomes a good form. Then you can work on that form because you know it in your head. But if you have to learn it while you're playing, then you really can't improvise because you're too busy learning. So the best thing to do is learn the tune real good, then improvise on it. Because otherwise you're going to say, well, where's that chord go next? Well, the minute you think of that, then you can't improvise because you're using the mind to think of where you're going. But if you know a tune well enough, like somewhere there's music, how high the but if I didn't know those chords and I had to think, I'd be going. Like you got to know the tune. So learn the tune, even if it takes 6 months. Learn the tune. Then when you play it, like you don't even have to think about the chords. Like then your emotions come out and it'll just roll out because you know the structure so well that your hands will just go right there. So it's not good to learn a tune on the bandstand. Like learn a tune on the bandstand, you're going, it seems like you're trying too hard. Like you really shouldn't be trying hard. Like it looks like you should know the tune and you should be able to play your improvisations with the simplest amount of effort. Like you shouldn't have to work hard at it. Like work hard at home, but when you get to the gig, know the tune and just relax with it. And that's how the improvisation starts to happen. Like a man on man, like I've been playing Diads, like Days of Wine and Roses for 20 years. And I know it so well, I don't even have to think of the chords anymore. Now it's going to go to an A. So instead of going to A, I'll think, oh, what's the substitute for an A? The flat 5 is always a substitute, so I'll go. E flat is a substitute, like E flat is the flat 5 of A. So I'll use that for substitute. E minor. Usually he wants to go to E. Like E minor, A7, D minor 7, G7, see? So I'm saying E minor. So instead of going to A7, what's the flat 5 of A? Okay, so I'll go to an E flat. Okay, now when I go to D minor 7th, now what's the flat 5 of G? So I use D flat instead of G. I'll use that. Now if I want to get real weird, I'm back in 1 now. Now C, what's the flat 5 of C? Okay, so I'll play a G flat like that. Instead of C. And then going to F, like E minor, back to E flat, D minor, F minor. That's like an F sharp minor 7 flat 5 to B7. So like instead of going to the B7, what's the flat 5 to B7? Yeah. Huh?
What is it?
The flat 5 of B7.
Oh, a B7, actually.
Yeah, okay, so I'll play an F major 7th, like. See, so I use a substitute. E, A, okay, okay, like E minor.
These are your chord structures, like your chord structures, how you do certain chords. Do you learn them like a piano player would by ear or by how a chord structure should be, or did you learn by, this is a way
By visual?
Yeah.
By visual?
Or did you do it
Like
by,
both ways. I learn the way piano players do, plus I learn the way they look, on the neck. And I try and find the easiest way to do it. Look like, say if I'm going, the days of wine and roses, and if I want something different. The days of wine and G. So what am I going to use in place of G? Huh? Okay. Okay, I'll get it used. Okay. Right? Or, see. A D minor 9, right? So I can change that. I can make that a D9 instead. Look, instead of, I'll make it. And then, now instead of going right to C, I'll play a C sharp major 7th. Because a C sharp major 7th has got C on top and the melody's C.